the Agile Brand.
Being able to collect data about critical applications and experiences is make or break these days. But waiting for all the setup required can mean missing out on valuable insights and lost opportunities. And then you've got to get dashboards built and wait for days and even weeks for all of this to be ready. But what if you could not only get up to speed collecting data within minutes, but then also ask questions about that data and get real-time, contextualized answers and visualizations, all powered by generative AI? Welcome to One Amazing Thing About Amplitude. I'm your host, Greg Kihlström, and I'd like to welcome Abbie Kouzmanoff, Senior Director of Product at Amplitude. And she's going to be sharing not one, but two amazing things with us today, Autocapture and Ask Amplitude. Abbie, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Greg. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we take a look at things, why don't we get started with you giving a little background on you and your role at Amplitude?
Yeah, happy to. So I'm Abbie, a Senior Director of Product at Amplitude. I lead our core product teams here. Amplitude, if you're not familiar, it's a digital analytics platform. We're really focused on helping companies essentially build amazing products and drive growth. And we really do that through giving self-serve visibility into the entire customer journey through quant and qual analytics, and really letting you take action on those insights as well through products like feature and web experimentation and audience targeting. So really excited to share a little bit more about what we've been up to around this.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, so let's first start by can you tell us a little bit? So we're gonna walk through Autocapture and Ask Amplitude. Can you talk a little bit about, why are these features important to showcase today? Who's the audience? Why are these important to them?
Yeah, definitely. So our audience is really any company that wants to get started with analytics that maybe just has been a little too intimidated or overwhelmed with current solutions out there, or maybe you have something in place and it's not necessarily giving you the ROI that you need. And so what we've done is really try to rebuild our platform to eliminate that learning curve so that anyone can essentially use digital analytics and see ROI quickly. So that's kind of where things like Autocapture come in. We want to really eliminate that learning curve for getting started, that blank slate where it requires a ton of engineers to get value out of the gate. So letting you sort of automatically track all the most important user behavior. But then also, what questions should you ask about that data and how do you ask those questions? That's a really challenging thing that can take weeks or months. You don't know the right best practices. So we're trying to use AI to help with that. And that's where Ask Amplitude comes in to essentially let you ask questions in plain English about your data rather than having to learn a complicated tool.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to see it. Let's take a look.
So just before we jump into the demo, I want to kind of contextualize us, like who we are in this scenario. So imagine that I am a PM or maybe someone on the digital team at a company called Amplistore. So maybe an e-commerce site. And I'm really looking to better understand insights about how people are using my product. So if I were to go and sign up for Amplitude, I just enter my name and I'd be greeted with a simple one-step sign-up flow. Historically, getting data in has taken maybe 10 steps. We've really brought that down to just one. So as you can see here, when I get started, all I need to do is actually come in and copy just one single snippet of code and paste that into the head of any page. And when I do that, I'm not only going to start automatically tracking all of the insights and most important interactions happening on my page, but I'll also start getting the different session replays of how people are using my product and be able to watch back their experience in real time. So really trying to eliminate the learning curve here by, rather than having to have your engineer go and implement this, track every event, I would simply come in, paste this one line of code into my site, and I would be off to the races with Autocapture, tracking the most important interactions, properties about my users, and session replay. So we won't wait for my fictional site to gather data. We'll jump in and imagine I've maybe been collecting some behavior for a few months, and I'm logging into Amplitude in the homepage. And what this one line of code really does is enable all of these out of the box insights about the health of your website and your product that you're seeing here today. So you can see how many users are on your product, the number of visitors, page views, also even where these users are coming from, the platform, the device that they're on. All of this is available with that one line of code. And the way that this is working is we're tracking all of the different events that are happening on your site with that snippet. And we're taking a look at the different users, the unique users that are coming in. So we can see here that we have had some users from France and the US today. And we can actually dig in and see that Amplitude with that snippet is tracking all of their activity, their properties, and as we saw in the setup, even their session replays of how they're actually using my Amplistore site. So you can start to see how they're actually interacting. And so that's kind of the behind the scenes of how this one line of code is powering the foundations for all of the analytics and the questions that you're going to ask.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, I saw one of the options was like Google Tag Manager as well. So, and marketers out there using things like that seems like, very quickly can get up to speed on this stuff. And definitely, some of what I'm seeing here, it's a kind of a level above what you're going to get with standard analytics platforms, right? So can you talk a little bit about, you touched on a little bit, but maybe a little bit more about, what kind of insights are you going to be able to see and learn quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're definitely right. I chose to use the snippet, the JavaScript SDK that we have in this case. But if you have a mobile app, we have mobile SDKs. If you want to use Google Tag Manager, other instant ways you can bring in data, and you're still going to get these same out of the box insights that we're looking at. So right here, we've actually started to help reduce the learning curve of what questions to ask by giving you out of the box reports on things like your most important metrics broken down by things like your channels. And so this is really great for a marketer who wants to understand, web analytics, but we do go further in terms of then allowing you to actually dive deeper into every data point by showing you the different journeys, the user streams. You could create a cohort from these users, but we can also do the same thing with product analytics. So as you want to go from your web traffic into your actual user behavior data, you can start to see key metrics like your active users, your new users, the session duration that you have. We can dig into your retention rate as well. So you can start to get all of these different standard questions answered out of the box and start to break this down by different properties like country, device platform, and all of that again is being tracked with that one snippet.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah. I think another thing that I do want to point out here is these are, basic page tracking click events, but oftentimes people might want to start to get more specific and start to label individual interactions that are going on in their product. So one key component of Autocapture is visual labeling, which allows you to actually tag individual elements on your site. Give it, for example, a more specific name, like let's do select product tile here. You could change the different elements you're tracking just by interacting, save this event, and actually start to ask questions directly in Amplitude with that event. And so this is still, again, not requiring any engineer to start to ask these questions. We're just using that those default events that we're tracking, giving it a custom name, and then allowing you to start to ask self-serve questions about those events, play around with it in different ways. Again, all with that auto capture feature.
Yeah, I mean that's very cool. Having tried to dig through like click events and figuring out which is which and all that stuff, that seems immediately useful. And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the click events are great, right? For those reports we saw earlier, retention rate, active
right.
users. You don't necessarily need specific events when you're getting started to get insights day one, week one. But when you're starting to want to get into, hey, what's a specific conversion rate from this event to purchase? You can label those events directly on your site. Don't ask an engineer, and in just seconds, start to get that conversion rate right out of the box.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Um, I've showed you kind of some of these out of the box insights, but the last thing that I did want to show you is For maybe someone who doesn't want to learn how to use this chart, we have also introduced a feature called Ask Amplitude. And so this is essentially an AI-based conversational interface that allows you to ask more specific questions about your data when you're ready to do that. So I'll just give an example here of, what's my conversion rate from sign up to favoriting an item. And what's going to happen here is that Ask Amplitude is basically going to look at my data and deliver back an answer to that question I just asked in plain English right here. And not only that, it's for maybe those who don't know the right follow-up question to ask. They're not an expert analyst. We're starting to actually give you follow-ups of the different questions that you might want to ask, or potentially just go ahead and ask it a follow-up question right in line and start a conversation with Amplitude.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. I think that's such a great use of generative AI too, is just, really it's the democratization, right? Of, the data scientists are very valuable and needed, but they're often taxed as far as time goes and everything like that. So, giving marketers in this case, direct access to be able to ask this question, just and I mean, I love the follow-ups thing, but also just maybe you don't ask the right question the first time. And so, I think many people watching this probably know the cost of asking the wrong question when it takes 3 days to get an answer, and then you have to go back and wait another, so like this is, I would imagine you can just keep asking questions until you kind of get the right one, right?
So for example, I could just ask it a follow-up here, because exactly right, oftentimes it's not the first question, but you realize you actually had a different question.
Right.
And so now I'm able to just go ahead and ask that without that follow-up. If these don't sound good to me, I could actually even re-roll my suggestions here. Choose one of these, like, let's look at how that compared to the previous day, right? Or if that's not what I want, I could just simply remove that and go back to my original insight. So trying to kind of make that experience of someone who's maybe less familiar with analytics interacting with an analyst, and kind of recreating that experience for them. This will also allow you to search help docs from Amplitude. So I can ask it things like, how do I create a retention analysis if I'm just getting started? And it's going to tell me how to do that and where to find it in the platform as well.
Wow. Yeah, this is great. Well, thanks so much for sharing these features with us. Definitely a lot to explore here. For those that they like what they see, they want to get their hands on it. What's some next steps that they should take?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of these features that I shared, they are available today, and they're actually available on all of our plans, including our free plan. So you can just go to amplitude.com, sign up for a free account, and just those couple steps that I showed. And you actually will get 50,000 monthly tracked users for free. So there's really no barrier to getting started on this. Even session replay, all of those features are available out of the box for free for you to try.
Wonderful. Well, again, I'd like to thank Abbie Kouzmanoff, Senior Director of Product at Amplitude, for joining the show. You can learn more about Abbie and Amplitude by following the links in the show notes.
Thanks, Greg. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you.